Okay, cool. Welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us here today. My name is Ryan Bancher. I'm the VP of Client Success and one of the co-founders here at CourseKey. Today's webinar, we're going to be exploring how CNI College, one of our partners, has been able to safely welcome back students to their campus and how we've been able to help play a part in that strategy. We really appreciate everybody for joining us today, and we have enjoyed working with CNI over the past year and a half. Today, our goal is to kind of learn from CNI College, understand what they've been able to do to help bring some of their students back to campus safely in these recent weeks, and hopefully provide the audience with some really key takeaways that you can implement at your schools moving forward. So I actually have the pleasure of being joined today by Chris Ortiz. Chris is what we would kind of call the IT solutions architect over there at CNI College. And before we kind of do introductions, there's a few housekeeping items that I just wanted to cover. So first, this webinar is going to be recorded. Everybody here will be emailed a link to the recording later, sometime during the week. And we do have some time for Q&A at the end of this session. So feel free to submit any questions or comments in the chat, and we'll be kind of taking a look at those as those come in. So first, let's do a quick introduction into CourseKey. That's the next slide. So we are a 6-year-old education technology company. We build teaching and training software for career education schools. Most of the tools weren't well suited for vocational training when we started working with some of our clients. And so, we noticed that there wasn't a huge focus on attendance collection for clock hour programs, wasn't a lot of tools for experiential learning, and nobody really understood compliance. And so that's what we've been focused on as a company, hoping to deliver that type of value to our clients and our partners like CNI. And then Chris, if you want to go ahead and give a quick intro and background on yourself and what you guys do over there at CNI.
Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Chris Ortiz, and I am the IT Solutions and Systems Architect here at CNI College, and also manage all of our IT as well. CNI College is a small vocational and allied nursing school. We've been here since 1994, and we're based out in Santa Ana, California. Some of the programs that we offer are, now we have an associate's degree in nursing, in surgical technology, MRI technician programs, and also a online BSN program. And we are APHES accredited and also CCNE accredited for our BSN.
Awesome. So we're going to get into a lot of different areas today, but Chris, I wanted to kind of start, just off the jump. How are things broadly going for CNI College right now in terms of, your business and your growth, especially, COVID related things, how is that impacting you guys and how have you been handling it?
Honestly, things are going very well. Luckily, we've already had, a lot of our resources in place, but in terms of since the beginning of COVID till now, there has been, if anything, a bit greater demand and more growth in terms of our programs. So, whereas some schools are seeing, might seem like a disinterest or a decline with some of the students, we're actually seeing a growth. More students want to be a part of the healthcare industry right now with the pandemic and currently with everything going on with COVID. And, in terms of everything that's going on here with COVID and the resources that we're using, especially with CourseKey, the technology and resources have allowed us to scale our reach with our students in a greater kind of stance as to what we had before.
Nice. So, and just to kind of ask a quick question on that, I mean, how does the technology come into play for you guys when you have, it sounds like an increased demand of students, but it sounds like you're using the same square footage. How are you guys able to kind of, manage the influx of students coming in using the tech?
Well, with a lot of that, because it's online and because we do also, provide our students with laptops of their own too, we do try to make sure that every student that we have here has the means and the resources. So we provide them with the laptops. Everybody has an account to do their video conferencing. And all actual, even our faculty, we provide them with laptops if needed, or the resources. So if they need any webcams or anything like that, any resources we provide to everybody, faculty, staff, and students. So instead of it—
that was before COVID, right?
Right. So before we already
gotcha.
had something in place, but now with being able to, because we already have the technology ready, and with the help of CourseKey, because we had all our students with CourseKey, it just made the push a lot easier and smoother.
Got it. So you guys already had the hardware that most, some schools might have scrambled for, but then also having, the software to go with it before this happened, it's making the transition kind of a little bit smoother between the different environments you guys are hosting students in.
Correct. Correct.
Gotcha. So yeah, I mean, I think everybody understands how important, on ground and hands-on training is for students, especially, for career colleges. You guys, you're teaching people that have to do blood draws and have to, show that they have certain, skill sets before they can move on. With this type of a challenge, with having people together on campus during a learning pandemic, can you talk about your school's, mindset or approach, like how you guys set out to solve the problem? Where did you start? And then at what point did you feel like it was safe to start bringing students back to campus?
Well, we kind of started right off the bat, right when everything was already taking place. We were trying to figure out how soon can we get our students either feeling like they're still here, or and slowly start bringing them as depending on what the rules are, the guidelines, regulations, and things like that too. So we actually started bringing our students in the middle of June. And even some before that. We did it with our smaller programs, such as our medical assistants and our surgical techs. And we started very small so we can test out a lot of our tools and our resources and our reach. And with that too, we were able to see how we can use our cameras that we have placed throughout the campus so that we can have our students plugged in to make them feel like they're actually on campus. And one of the newer tools that we actually just got is a 360 camera too. So we do give students the option, either if they feel comfortable enough to come to campus, then they can come. But if those that still don't, then they can, either, come in through Zoom or use our 360 video camera too that we have broadcasting on there. So it looks like they can, view everything as well.
Nice. Okay. And then it sounds like that was the kind of the strategy for bringing them back to campus, kind of giving them the option, right? And then did you have to modify the course structure, your programs at all, to make this happen? And what else did you have to put in place to bring students back safely? Like, do you have I know we're going to talk about the health check screening and stuff, but do you have any like secondary processes like forms or stations, or what does that look like for you?
So yes, that actually took a good amount of trial and error at the beginning, because a lot of our faculty themselves did have a difficult time going, from teaching on campus to going online. And to many of our faculty, teaching online was something they've never done before. So with that, I provided a lot of videos, a lot of workshops, a lot of in-person workshops, online workshops, and I still continuously do those every month. We have in-services that we do for all of our faculty, as well as our students too, because sometimes our students still need to be updated. And I think that was something that did help us, is to ensure that both faculty and students are kept up to date with what we're doing. But at the same time, we did have to change how we did our lectures, because we did have some classes that would be about 10-hour long lectures when they were here on campus, which is easier to do. But yeah, online now we had to either do some checkpoints. So we would meet with them at the beginning, have them do some activities throughout a few hours, check in with them again throughout the middle of the day, and then maybe do a sitting lecture, for a few hours after that until the end of the class. So we had to see how we can adopt the way we teach our courses from on-campus lecture only to more online. That still makes it feasible and also much more comfortable for both the faculty and the students, so they don't have to consistently sit in front of a camera throughout the day, because that was something that we saw a lot of fatigue with our faculty and also a lot of frustration with our students.
Got it. So you're not necessarily going, minute for minute via Zoom session. What you guys are doing is giving them more flexibility to kind of break out and work, come back, but you're still knocking out all the activities you normally would have done in the classroom. So I can see how that might save some people's eyeballs from bleeding during a 9-hour, 10-hour presentation.
Right.
Cool. So let's talk about that health check screening, because I know that's kind of a big thing. A lot of the schools that we're working with, that's one of their biggest challenges is, how do we safely and I guess appropriately screen students when they're coming back, and what does that look like? And so just to kind of give everybody here who hasn't had a chance to see it, like a verbal description of what this looks like. We recently developed a health check tool that is really based on like a questionnaire that students, faculty, staff can all self-report and answer a quick series of questions every time they log into our app. Now, again, our app is used for attendance and a lot of other things at the school. So this is something that students were already accessing every day for multiple reasons. And so putting a survey right in front of them that just asks them, do you have a combination of 2 or more of these symptoms? Have you been in contact with anybody? Have you been to a site without wearing proper PPE? That may create exposure. Little questions like that. And as long as everybody answers, the correct responses are no, they'll get a green pass, which shows up on their phone, and everybody's good to kind of just go through and show the pass, and that's how they get in and out of class. On the other end, if I put, yes, I did have a temperature of 102 or something like that, then I'm going to get a red card. And so the red card, the admins like Chris will automatically get a notification saying, hey, one of your students, faculty, or staff flagged as a red response. And then they can immediately go in, figure out who that is, contact that person, and set up, the ability for them, obviously, to stay home, come in via Zoom, things like that, while they sort out that and they kind of do that tracing part from there. So let's kind of talk about more on specifically the health check. And how has that allowed you to kind of, I guess, how did it play into your overall screening process? And what was the objective, of when you decided, that looks like something that's easy? What was it that made you think that would be something to help bring students back to campus?
The best thing about it was the ease of use. And because all of our students already had the CourseKey application on their phones, we knew that this was going to be the easiest way to ensure that our students are answering all the health screening questions before arriving to campus, or before they get into our doors, and also being able to monitor our students, seeing if anyone does have, or answer any of those questions where they do have COVID or some COVID related symptoms, that we can actually monitor and track those, so we know who they are and maybe when the last time they maybe have had it, or it's the best thing about it is keeping a track record about it, having the reports and being able to view those daily, weekly, monthly, and even down the road, if we ever needed to pull up some records, the ease of use behind it. Because I think if we were to do it with only paper, trying to get through all the paper and trying to siphon through everything would take us an extraordinary amount of time. But because it's web-based, it's mobile, everything is on there, the students already know how to use CourseKey, it's very easy to follow the questions. We were able to tailor to what we needed and still follow the guidelines set up by the CDC and everything like that. It just made the process a no-brainer for us. It was very easy.
And when you guys made the decision, because I sneak peek anything I can all the time, so I'm sure you saw it. And then from there, once you saw the tool and what we were doing, what was the process for you guys as a school when you went through the, making that decision to go ahead and use it? Who else was involved? I know you guys are a health school, so I'm sure there's some medical, influence that's going on there as well when you're making these decisions. Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, so it started off with the kind of the little beta that you showed us, and kind of seeing how we would use it. And of course, we were already interested in something like that because we were thinking of just doing it by paper or through an Excel sheet or something. But what we ended up doing is with our administration, our CO, our VP, our provost, and our directors is all getting together and seeing if this would be something that we as directors or as admin can monitor, and also how easy it is for our faculty themselves to also be responsible and monitoring their students. So once we saw that everybody was on board and how easy it was for everybody at different levels to actually use it, then for us, we were able to really make that decision fairly easily.
Gotcha. And you mentioned paper and maybe Excel sheets. Was there any other options that you guys were exploring and that looked like something you guys wanted to take a look at?
Yes, so one thing was using a survey, on SurveyMonkey or on Google Forms, rating something like that.
Okay. And how have your students been responding since they've been doing it? Has it been pretty straightforward for them, or what have you been hearing?
Yeah, it's been very straightforward. And it's funny enough, before we were actually implementing it, what we did is we ran our own survey to see how students and faculty would feel in terms of if we had something like that in place, if they would feel more comfortable in regards to returning to campus, because we also wanted to gauge how we were doing in terms of our online transition. So by sending that out and asking them, would they feel comfortable with answering survey on top of doing our temperature checks to see if this is something that they would be more responsive to. And now seeing everything, the students easily, now it's almost like an innate thing that they do. Before they come in, they already do the surveys. It's easy. There hasn't been any complications whatsoever. So the students love it. The faculty love it even more because now they know that when they're with their students in the lab, they know who's cleared. And if somebody isn't, they can see why they're not in class as well.
Got it. Yeah, and what you're referencing is in the attendance rosters, if they check in while they're on site, we display like a little indicator for them to make sure that they know that they've been screened in and are good to be in the class for the day as well, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Gotcha. Okay. So it sounds like students and faculty are responding pretty well. How about compliance? I mean, what have you had to, I mean, what do you guys feel you're responsible for proving, or how do you feel like you're being measured? And does the accreditors, you mentioned that, you have a few accreditors. What is their sort of requirement, or what have you heard from them, around what they expect from a health screening process and for schools who are looking to bring students back?
So as long as we're, being compliant with the CDC guidelines and we're meeting anything from our boards too, because a lot of the boards that we work with do require that a lot of students have, a set percentage of hands-on practice. So if we were, to stick to only online, that made it very difficult. But if we followed their parameters, and this is something where, with CourseKey, we were able to tweak our questions in terms of the health screening tool to what best suited our needs. So, we have these 10 questions or 5 questions that we can do. And, if they're wearing, the PPEs, because a lot of our students do work in a healthcare setting too. So,
Yeah.
We have to make sure that we do allocate the questions and we tailor them towards them. So if they're working in a healthcare setting, are they wearing appropriate PPEs? And then what are they doing themselves? So we keep it with a simple yes and no. So in the future, when our accreditors do ask us, what have we done to ensure that, we're safely bringing our students and meeting the CDC guidelines, we can actually show them a report with the report function on the health screening tool, along with everything else that we do. So we have our logs from our instructors, their daily logs that they also write as well. So we pair that up with the reports that we can easily just export from the health screening tool. All of that, we can easily, meet our compliance. If there are any, accreditors asking us questions to see what we're doing, it's very easy to do, very easy to export and to send out to anybody that asks us questions.
Awesome. And I know we kind of mentioned health check isn't the only, technology that you guys have implemented, for having everybody come on site. Can you talk about some of the other additions you put in place and how CourseKey fits a site along that, like taking the students' temperatures, I think you mentioned, and other things?
Yes, so now before our students come in, there are a few things. So we do have a person that checks, every student's temperature. And one of the newer tools that we're doing is actually a facial temperature scanner. So that paired with CourseKey and the health screening tool, now we have a few layers of safety, a few layers of security on top of everything else too, to ensure that anyone that is on campus, including our faculty as well, is being screened for health, not just by the questionnaire, but also with their temperatures, and also having somebody physically there checking to see if they're there as well. And we do this too, if they step out, when they come back in, we still monitor their temperature and making sure that, we do this daily as well. So this on top of, having our cameras available and everything too, because again, we want to make it where it's comfortable for everybody. So a lot of our technology in terms of streamlining our cameras so students can access it at home too, if they don't feel too comfortable, or maybe they're, feeling a little sick, 1 week. So we still want to give them the option where if they cannot come to campus because they're sick, or, maybe they do have some COVID symptoms, they can still stay at home, and we can look at the health screening tools to say, okay, well, Jane Doe has a red flag or a red pass. So then, this is why they're home, but we still have the means to provide them, the streaming options to use the courses and chime in when needed too.
Got it. So this is a hypothetical, but, obviously important question. If an outbreak does happen at the campus, what is the current strategy for dealing with that?
So if there's an outbreak, then the best thing with the health screening tool is we can kind of track to see, because if a student, for example, if a student marked that they have a green pass and they're good to go, but then we've seen that maybe that's where it stemmed from. If for any reason they want to say that, oh, well, my temperature wasn't screened or anything like that. Well, we do have the records to show, yes, this student, claimed here that, they didn't have any of the symptoms, their temperature checked out well. And if anything is in place, then we know how to centralize, these issues as well.
Got it. And then what about have these preventative measures helped students complete like externship hours at the offsite locations? And how do your partners feel about, have you communicated the screening process and letting them know that, we put something in place, and even when they go off site, they can fill this thing out. That way we're aware at our campus if they have any of these symptoms. Have you communicated that to them, and what is their feedback then?
Yes, so for example, our MRI students do still go to their labs, but again, it is still optional. But the lab technicians there know that, and when the students go too, when they open up Course Key, it does ask them if they are visiting a physical site. So if they are going, then they can hit yes, they answer the questions, and they can also show the, the front desk receptionist or the lab technician there too. And in a way too, on top of whatever guidelines that they have at the lab sites, that also adds that extra layer of comfortability and security, and making sure that too, that the students that are going to these labs or going to our hospital sites, are also still being compliant with the CDC guidelines on top of whatever else the hospitals or the sites have in place as well.
Got it. So it's nice to have the standard in all the learning environments in addition to whatever else screening processes other people have. Got it. Cool. And then moving to like Q&A, I think at this point I want to make sure that we see, if there's any questions. And Alex, I'm not sure if you've been kind of filling those in the back, but let's go ahead and kind of take a look at the chat and see if anything's come in there. Anybody in the audience that's participating, feel free to submit any questions now, and we'll go ahead and respond to any of those that come through.
Yeah, so far, no questions. So definitely feel free to add questions and we'll get to them.
So you want to just go ahead and wrap it up then?
Yeah, if there's any last minute questions, we can definitely answer those and have Chris and Ryan speak to them. But if not, Ryan, this is the last slide for you.
Cool. So yeah, definitely. Thank you everybody for showing up today. I hope this helps kind of give everybody an idea about what some of the schools out there, obviously in addition to the health check, our online and on ground touch-free attendance, really big emphasis on the touch-free part right now. And other blended learning tools. We have data transfer integrations. We have a lot of different ways that we had mentioned, we're helping institutions adapt and thrive in this COVID-19 world. So, a broader vision for if you're looking for a broader vision of where we're going as a company, and, those of you who are looking to bring some of the students back to campus, we'd love to give you guys a demo and a free consultation on how Course Key's tools can be used to help you do that. So if you want to, feel free to book a demo at our website, through our post-webinar survey, through the email we send with the recording that'll be coming later in the week, or even just emailing our specialist, Jackson. And you can get him directly at jackson@coursekey.com. And just let him know you're on today's webinar so that he understands you're interested in sort of the health check process. All right. Other than that, thank you guys so much for the time, and have a great rest of your week.